I do not. Oh, you're so annoying. In there. Hello, hello. Yeah, this is in fact friendly between KernelPanic and Matticus. So we're on Eternal Empire, big old map. Here we have got our Protoss player KernelPanic in the bottom left of the map, and presumably then Matticus is in the top right. So, yeah, hang on, let me zoom out or something. I like the big zoom out. I'd like to be able to play with the zoom out on the go. I think it would be pretty sweet. Certainly at some times in the game, it would be quite nice. It'd be quite nice for keeping an eye on your base, defending your base and stuff like that. I think just in general, I like it. I prefer it. Anyway, yeah. Neither player doing anything bang out of the ordinary at this very, very early stage of the game. No one sort of sending a really early worker out onto the map or anything. So it looks like we're going to have a straight up opening. Matticus making sure he gets a wall, a complete wall, and I'm ambivalent about that. You know, I'd prefer this worker was on the map scouting than building a wall here. If you go out onto the map and you're looking around, if you see something that you're going to need a wall for, you can drop the wall. And if you don't, you can invest that money elsewhere. You're 100 minerals closer to getting an expo down, you've got a gas down, you've 100 closer to getting your second racks on the go, whatever it might be. But that's my personal opinion. You know, look, there's now 4 workers that aren't mining, which is a bit of a dent in the economy. However, 3 racks for Matticus, 3 racks. So it looks like this is going to be a very aggressive opening from our Terran player. KernelPanic looking very straight up. I hate this. Like, there's just no need for that whatsoever. That's 400 minerals. That's an expo. And what do you need it for? You don't know. You haven't been on the map. Again, have a worker on the map. Do you need 4 zealots? Even if you do need 4 zealots, you're not about to have 4 zealots because actually these are all you know, queued up and now you're supply blocked. So 1 zealot's what you've got for your trouble. So you've spent 400 minerals and you've only got a zealot. So yeah, I don't really like that. The third racks finishes up, and presumably we're just going to see nothing but Marines in production. There's no gas, there's no workers being made. Matticus only has one thing in his mind: he wants to end this game early. Needs to be careful with the triple racks production. You need to get your supply depot building fairly quickly. It won't take you long to become supply blocked, and you don't want to go to the trouble of building 3 racks for rapid marine production just to then find you can't build anything because you're blocked. So KernelPanic, these workers misrallied, is not in fact mining any sort of gas whatsoever. Has now just rectified that. So gas income is going to be good for him. Yeah, a lot of minerals in the bank, and you know, I want to see the expo go down. I want to see an expand happen. You know, Matticus clearly has no intentions of expanding. He just is pumping out these Marines. Given this build, I'd have liked to see an SCV come with this to start building a bunker. Now the only thing there's going to be here to defend is zealots, but there are 3 zealots, and 3 zealots beat this many Marines if the zealots are able to get on top of them. And no micro you know, coming out from the Terran player whatsoever does mean that those zealots are able to clean it up. You know, if the SCV comes with you, you put a bunker here just out of sight. When that bunker's almost finished, then you walk forward with your Marines, get a few shots off, and then you run to the safety of the bunker and you just drop the Marines into it. And and you will pick these zealots off. Now, Matticus still going for this. This is not working out that well. 3 zealots is hard to micro against, I'll be honest. A single zealot is straightforward to micro against. It's harder with 3, but you do need to, at the very least, try and stutter step these Marines a bit. Try and give the zealots the runabout. Now that the Stalker is out as well, I think this is just a good hold from KernelPanic. And that puts Matticus actually really far behind. He has no tech. The reactor's coming down now. He's got a huge amount of minerals that he hasn't quite been able to spend. Smack talk. I don't know what that was either. It wasn't the most successful of push. He did move in with the original 6 Marines, and it just wasn't really enough. He is now stockpiling the Marines. Marines have a high DPS when their numbers are high. They're good units. These Marines are just going to die. You died the last time. Since then, you only killed 1 zealot, and surely you expect that your opponent is going to have built more since then. So I'm not really sure about that decision to walk in there again. Again, this could go differently if you had the bunker, or maybe if you stockpiled the Marines. Of course, as I've said in so many games, Combat Shield just makes such a huge difference. If we look at the upgrades, there are none for either player. And Combat Shield, these Marines, these little Marines, 45 health. Combat Shield, they're 55 health. That's a big difference. As a percentage difference, that is substantially more face poking from a zealot that they need to die, more zappy from stalkers that it takes to kill them. So KernelPanic now gearing up for something with a big sort of bloom of gateways just finishing up. Needs to sort this out. There's far too many workers in that gas. Again, Matticus, just this is basically suicide. You're not really trading this particularly efficiently rather. These stalkers and the high grounders just shooting for free. And this is all beginning to add up. If we look at the units lost tab, 950 compared to 300, 19 Marines have died here, and arguably unnecessarily. And what have they died for? We've lost, well, I think it was 2 zealots and maybe a worker. I'm not sure. Anyway, Marauders can help. What I'd really like to see, as I've said, Combat Shield for sure, but also Concussive Shell for these Marauders. The Concussive Shell for the Marauders means that you are able to micro against the Zealots pretty easily. Now, look at the difference like having a couple of Marauders to mete out damage makes. I didn't see the start of that engagement, so I don't know exactly what happened. Now, the Zealot and the Cannon combined should clean this up, but they're not going to be able to do anything about this that's coming. This many gateways though, 7 Stalkers in production. So, Stalkers, they have a great range, they're very good at just shooting stuff and dancing backwards. What I don't know about that though, what I'd really like to see from KernelPanic, this looks vaguely ominous, doesn't it? It looks like Matticus might be able to just force the issue here and push in. These Stalkers are all going to fall. We haven't got Warp Gate. No Warp Gate. I thought he... No, he didn't. So these Stalkers are just coming out. Oh, that's horrible to watch. Drip feed him one at a time. I'd love to have seen a shield battery. Pylon here and a shield battery just means a couple of Stalkers here just never going to die. These Stalkers just walking to their death is horrible to watch. I just... It's making me feel sick. You need another Pylon mech because... Whoops. Yeah, got it. Hopefully these guys are not on... These guys are just trying to get to a rally point. So the problem here is the rally point is set to here, which means these units are coming out and trying to walk to this position. It does look like KernelPanic is finally going to stabilize. Yeah, but definitely some unnecessary losses here with that dodgy rally point. Yeah, more Zealots coming out. There's some Stalkers in production as well. But you need Warp Gate. You need a shield battery. A shield battery would just make this look easy. It would just make Protoss look broken. Because all of this stuff would just come up and die for nothing. Anyway, Matticus finally with the Expo down at home, but still no real sign of tech, nothing being researched in the tech lab. Finally there's a factory coming down. You know, only one worker in each gas here. If we look at the income tab, it is favouring KernelPanic. It has been favouring KernelPanic for some time. These zealots being allowed to get on top of this stuff does make them very useful. They're tanky units. They put a lot of hurt and stuff. You know, zealots take a lot of marine shots before they die. So letting the zealots get on top of you like that is not a good way to deal with these engagements. And Matticus isn't letting up with this, is he? He's just like continuously sending this stuff across the map, largely to its doom. It's got to be said, but who knows? You know, there was a time there when he did push up this ramp, did manage to get a bit of hurt done, and arguably, having done that, what he really should have done is run down here and killed these, because you know, his units might not fare that well against zealots and stalkers. I mean, if we just look at the army supply there, but army value, look, the Protoss is just miles ahead. Yeah, finally a shield battery in production. Where is that, the shield battery? Yeah. No. Just no, please stop. Oh god, no. Why? I don't understand the decision making that's going on here. I mean, you know, what 5 times now Marine Marauder has tried to push into you, and each time you've seen it off, mostly with ease. So, do you need this? Do you? Do you need this in this location? No, the only thing you needed with these 2 shield batteries, that was it. All of these cannons, this is vile. When you rally units down from your base, just what path are they actually going to take? Can they fit through there? No, they're going to be walking the whole way. No, just no. Look how much money he spent on this. That's disgusting, isn't it? Literally disgusting. We've got like 10 cannons there, $1.5 grand spent on cannons. Why wasn't this spent on a Nexus over here, and maybe 3 cannons and a shield battery to keep it nice and safe? Why? Why? You don't need this. You haven't needed it the last few times. What makes you think you're going to need it this time? Maybe you know something I don't. Maybe you knew the siege tank was coming. I'm not sure how you would know that, because that's the extent of scouting that you've done, literally none whatsoever. This siege tank shouldn't be at the front like this. Stuff is going to be able to get on top of it. You've spent $1.5 grand of cannons, and then you decide to fight in a choke out of range of the cannons. What am I even watching here? Pull back! Look at all these cannons not shooting. Look at all your stuff dying in a choke. Let them come to you. You've spent the money. You're not even in range of the shield batteries. Look at this guy. He would love a shield battery. Please walk over it. Thank you. Thank you. Still not in range. Come on. Come on. Please fix this. This is making me sick. So the siege tank's finally sieged up a little bit too far back. I think, you know, these are only going to get stuff done if your opponent actually walks into this choke. And hopefully KernelPanic learned his lesson from last time. No, he didn't. He is just going to fight in the choke. As it turns out, in that choke, the siege tanks are doing huge amounts of splash damage to the Terran units. I think in that last engagement, those 2 siege tanks did as much damage to the Terran army as the Protoss did. Look, what am I even saying? I like this though. I like the decision to flank round the back. That's not crazy at all. I'm not sure that you've got enough though. You took such a piston in those choke engagements. KernelPanic, while this is all going on, has forgotten to actually build anything. So, you know, now that that's that happened. Okay, the siege tank in the back here is going to have a good time. It will ultimately be able to just shoot these. Like, why wouldn't you pull these units back? Why are these dying? The siege tank outranges this stuff. Let the siege tank deal with this. Let it, you know, just inch it forward, pick off the next batch, drain this shield batteries already. Oh no, I didn't. This shield batteries already pretty much out of energy. So, yeah, just move these, you know, leapfrog the siege tanks, do whatever you like. Yeah, finally some production then happening for KernelPanic. There's a robo down, and the robo bay also is incoming. If we look at the upgrades, we've got +1 armor, +1 attack, and we've got zealot charge. Zealot charge makes a really big difference here. He's got plenty of gateways, still no warp gate, and that is, I'm finding that distressing. What the hell? That's a lot of robo. So Colossus would be great here. He has got the robo bay out in production, so not quite done yet, but Where? Oh, it is just done. So yeah, can just hold on the Colossus button now and walk across the map for the win. The Zealots march out and just see this stuff off, and Matticus decides, do you know what? Maybe this frontal assault is not going to work. So income tab, we, as you would expect, KernelPanic is ahead in income, has got this third base up and mining. The men here reasonably well mined out for Matticus. There's no orbital on this, so not as many mules being dropped as you would like to see. And look, the natural still not saturated. The men not fully saturated. And here we are 14 minutes into the game. 14 minutes in, and no saturation even on the men or natural. That, you sort of deserve to lose a game if you're going to go around doing that. I like this. Send the observer in, having a good look around, sees everything, sees it all. So this observer is literally, he's loving life, is able to watch what comes out of these facilities, is going to see the first thing built by the starport, all of that stuff, sees the defensive structures. This is hard to spot. Look at the positioning of that. It's so hard to see that if you're not looking for it. As you swing about, you can kind of see that shimmer, or zoom in or out or whatever. You can kind of see the shimmery goodness of that. But that's hard to see. That's going to be hard for Matticus to notice. So that could just stay there for the rest of the game, to be honest. It's a good chance. So finally the natural is saturated. There's no sign of an expo. There's money in the bank for it. But Matticus decides, do you know what? It hasn't worked the last few times, but this time, this is the time. And it could be. The army supplies aren't crazy different. What was it that came out of these robos in the end? The Colossus are in production. 4 Colossus. Oh, good God. You would not want to be the Marine that is sent out the front to walk through this gap, would you? It's just going to it's going to be War of the Worlds. Oh, no. No, please pull the Zealots back. Allow your opponent to fight in the choke. Don't. No. I mean, it's a lot of Zealot, and they do have upgrades. The Terran, however, lacks upgrades. So I guess you can just walk through this, but it's going to cost you a lot, but arguably you didn't have to lose anything. If you were fighting within range of the shield batteries, within range of the Colossus, you probably wouldn't have lost a Zealot. But as it is, this badass Protoss army just mops that up pretty handily. Finally, Warp Gate is being researched, and that is good. The Raven comes out. That will... Oh, he must have already spotted and killed the observer. That's quite nice. Anyway, oh no, maybe KernelPanic moved it. So, is chasing the Terran down. Are there siege tanks sieged up? There aren't. A siege tank up here on the high ground is always awesome. Get these things sieged up. Defensively, they're so good. This observer will die if it moves in here. Ravens are detectors. But more than anything else, okay, that's interesting. Matticus desperately needs some medevacs. He desperately needs a third. He needs stuff, doesn't he? He needs to get his act together in this game. Needs an orbital here. Needs an army. Needs all sorts of stuff. So the Protoss ahead in supply. Ahead in army substantially. Ahead in upgrades. This early push has not paid dividends for Matticus. No, you could argue that it could have, it should have, but as it has turned out, it hasn't. That is a lot of Colossus. There isn't a lot of damage output from this Protoss Death Ball here. Yeah, does KernelPanic know anything about this? Where did his observer go? I don't know where it went. Don't know. Anyway, it looks like he does not know about it. It's managing to skirt around the side of the map, and it looks likely that this Terran army is just going to be able to pick this off. Even teleports in the battle cruiser, and that's kind of okay. So, will KernelPanic pull this home, or does he feel he's got enough to hold it? It doesn't look like he's got enough here to hold it. Isn't it a shame that he built all of these cannons over here instead of just a few cannons and a shield battery here? It's a bit late now, KernelPanic. Where are you off to? I don't like this decision to come home. You've already lost the base. Why not just A-click into your opponent's men? His army's on the other side of the map, so why not just get in there and just destroy him? As the Protoss you can of course do that, safe in the knowledge that A, you're behind all these cannons, and B, if you have to, you can recall your army home. You can just pull them home with a recall from the Nexus. So the TOS is going to clean all of this up pretty handily. The only thing he's got a problem with here is this one battlecruiser that already has 12 kills, and as of now, the Protoss has nothing to shoot up. Pull them to the cannons! Run! Why? Don't just stand there and get shot in the face. These Colossus are actually following the battlecruiser. Why? I'm so confused right now. So he teleports out. Who knows why? Because he was literally having the time of his life. He was shooting things in the face that cannot shoot up, and he ran from them. Okay, so more battlecruisers in production. I don't know. Why is this game? Why is seriously? We're 19 minutes in, and we've got like a Terran is on one base with only 8 workers actually doing anything useful. The battlecruiser is going to clean up the zealots because they can't shoot up. It's going to clean up the Colossus because they can't shoot up. I'd love to see the Dorito cannon fire. I'd like to see this Raven put the armor shredding missile and all of this stuff. It just means that it'll die all the sooner. There's no point sending Marines after Colossus. They'll just die. You do clean this up, please. Oh, good God, no. So what the hell? The battlecruisers, why wouldn't you just blink them into the middle of your opponent's base here? You know, the only thing he's got that shoots up is 4 stalkers. Trust me, 3 battlecruisers kills 4 stalkers. No problem at all. I'd like to see the Yamato cannon being researched so that you can so that you can like one-shot those Colossus and get up to all of that sort of mean stuff. Army supply-wise then, what's even going on? Somehow, at the 20-minute mark, it's 17 workers against 22. I mean, my goodness. In Control is turning in his grave. So, gas income, a bit non-existent here. Yeah, luckily mining gas in the men still, and isn't really building anything, so hey, what do you need gas for? Matticus, fix this. You know, you're not... He's not even building workers, I don't understand. What's Matticus doing? What are you doing, Matticus? That's not Matticus. He's just having a look. He's thinking, I'm going to look at that. There's the thing. I'm thinking about building a base. I'm thinking about building a base. I'm still thinking about building a base. I'm thinking about it. I've almost got enough money for a base. Soon I'm going to have enough money for a base. I've almost got the money for a base. And build the base! Boom. Nailed it. Okay. Terrifying stuff here. Horrific scenes here in the EMS StarCraft League. So, the remnants of a Protoss army just hanging out on the map here. It's an Immortal. It's some Colossus. None of it shoots up. What is going to be the response here? Has got some stalkers, so at the very least he's thought, you know, those flying things were annoying. I should build things that shoot flying things, and has possibly responded. 5 in that gas, 7 in that gas. Idle workers, no sign of an expo over here. Instead has decided to expo here. I'd love to see a worker transfer, you know. You only need 2 on those minerals. You only need 3 on each of those. And as for these guys, nothing. So KernelPanic has 60 minerals, has 90 supply. This I don't know. I'm just gonna drink my tea for a while here. I've got a nice cup of tea that's probably going cold by now. I think there's people waiting to come into Bose to actually play a match. A proper match, so I am therefore going to speed things along here till please God something happens in this game that isn't just horrendous. So Protoss pushing out onto the map has got the significant, not that significant, but has got an army advantage. It's a more technical army, I feel. If we look at the units tab, there are 3 siege tanks, and that's good, and there are 3 battlecruisers, and that's good. So I say it's more technical army. I'm not even sure that that's true. The battlecruisers can do well here. What he needs to do is focus on these stalkers, because they're the only things that shoot up. He needs to siege up the siege tanks. If he loses this command center, then you sort of feel this game's over. The Raven flies into the middle of this and just dies. I suppose it tanked some shots, and that's vaguely useful. But it looks like the Terrans should be able to just about hold this, or at least would if these siege tanks were in any way sieged up. Snipes the base, goes for the recall, and I don't mind that because you have nothing left that's shot up. So get those expensive Colossus home. There are, of course, 2 expos now for Matticus. He's flown his CC from the men out to this location and is mining now, so you can see that he has got a reasonable income. Oh, does blink the battlecruisers across the map, and I love it. It's about time this happened. So, with nothing here that shoots up, KernelPanic's just discovered that battlecruisers have the teleport function. These battlecruisers could do with a repair, and you've used your teleport, so it's going to be hard to repair them. At this stage, I'd almost be, yeah, you don't want to lose these. They're such expensive units and they take such a long time to build. So a little bit of micro pulling back the weakened ones is really important. Once you get these Colossus focused on, you could even go nuts and drop a mule or 2 to repair. Watching these stalkers come in one at a time and just chip away at this is fairly painful. Obviously if a mule comes in a present, the Colossus will mop it up. These stalkers should at the very least be able to kill this one, and they do. And this one is eventually going to fall, but it's, you know, it's probably put a reasonable amount of hurt on. Let me just check a few things here. Wow, that is interesting. The units lost tab is surprisingly even. Both of these players have lost more than they should. Neither, you know, you wouldn't call this a crisp game by any stretch of the imagination, would you? So. Should we get Malcolm to cast this game? I don't know if you should have. I'm really not sure you should have. It's made me feel somewhat queasy. Anyway, this worker is going to expand in this location. I'm still not sure why you wouldn't just build here in your normal third, all the way across the map here, or here even. Just, you know, just really this. Yep. When did you destroy my natural? Well, you've only just noticed that. Okay, I think that says a lot, doesn't it? Including how to spell magic. You know, what is going on here? What is going on? There's lessons to be learned in this game, isn't there? There's lessons to be learned. One such lesson is if you're dying to stuff in the air, make sure you've got things that shoot up. Another such lesson is if you've got things in the air and your opponent doesn't have anything that shoots up, don't run away. Just kill that. Yeah. Other lessons, arguably, are if you've pushed through a choke 3 times and it hasn't worked, probably won't work the 4th time either. Yeah, keep an eye on this sort of thing. Like, there's 4 workers there, there's 2 right there, 6 workers just doing nothing, essentially. A Stargate at the 28-minute mark, a Stargate and a fleet beacon. I can only assume that KernelPanic has lost the plot in some way, has just decided that this isn't even StarCraft, that this is in fact Street Fighter. I don't know. I don't really know what's happening anymore. Look, there's some stuff over here just hanging out. Presumably KernelPanic is about to attack. If he attacks into that, he's going to get a maul in with just gateway units. Where's the Colossus at, man? You know, you've got that. Got 4 robos, but you've decided, nah, I don't need Colossus. Who needs splash damage? It's so overrated, man. I'm just gonna force the issue with zealots. This is a lot of siege tank, isn't it? Those sieged up on their own would just obliterate this lot badly. These battle cruisers are finally going to go and do something, which is great. I'd love to see them, you know, back over here. Just take out all the pylons. Just obliterate these pylons and your opponent has literally no production apart from this one Stargate. Okay, here we go. There is some... Oh, there they go. Right, good. So that is happening. That's a thing that's going on. Meanwhile, there's about to be some sort of fight over here. This stuff is moving in. A lot of the Protoss armies on the other side of the map. Does look like this base is going to fall. All of the Stalkers are going to fall too. The siege tanks still not in siege mode, but that's kind of okay for close range fight. Yeah, you want to hang around here and mop up all of these workers if you can. Looks like they will all go down. Don't get too strung out and separated if you can avoid it. You'd have to question where were those workers going. Now this is enough to push through here. but this is not an efficient way to do it. Siege tanks sieged up, outranging these cannons would be much more efficient. You know, cannons against this much stuff are always going to fall, but you might as well do it as economically as you possibly can. Now, while all of this goes on, the Stalkers, the Zealots on the other side of the map are pushing in to the Terran men, and they're going to get some stuff done. I don't know about working out on this. I'd rather see you cripple the production. Meanwhile, production for the Protoss is getting crippled. The Terran armies are going to meet in the middle here. The Stargate is this one Stargate cranking out a Void Ray as quickly as it can, with this lone Marine trying to shut the pylon down before it gets out. I have long since given up the will to live in this game. I don't even know what's happening anymore. It looks like the Terran's going to clean up all of this much more quickly than this is going to clean up on the other side of the map. With the siege tank out, it's going to... Oh, don't go and attack that. You simply don't have enough. That is suicide, and this planetary is going to finish the job here. So with another battlecruiser coming out, these battlecruisers going to work over here. It looks very like Matticus at last takes the game, and I've got a slight headache after that. I don't even know what I've just watched. GG.